Hi, I'm Stuart Salwin, and I'm a criminal defense attorney in Scottsdale, Arizona. And in this video, I'm going to be discussing what a Class 2 misdemeanor is under Arizona law. If you've been charged with a Class 2 misdemeanor and want to understand more about what that means, then this video is going to be for you. The two biggest categories of crimes in Arizona are misdemeanors and felonies. A felony is a very serious type of crime that's handled in Arizona's superior court, whereas a misdemeanor is a lesser type of crime and is usually handled by the city courts or the justice courts. But just because a misdemeanor is a lesser type of crime, it still has potentially serious consequences, which can include jail time, fines, and the consequences of just having a criminal conviction go on your record. Now, in the category of misdemeanor crimes, the law breaks those down even further into three different classes of misdemeanors. There are Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3 misdemeanors. Class 3 misdemeanors are the least serious, and Class 1 misdemeanors are the most serious type of misdemeanor crime. And what makes them more serious for somebody charged with a misdemeanor is that the maximum punishment increases the higher the level of misdemeanor. Common Class 2 misdemeanors include things like reckless driving, leaving the scene of an accident, and certain types of assaults, as well as criminal damage and criminal trespassing. The maximum penalties for a Class 2 misdemeanor is up to 4 months in jail, $750 in fines, and 2 years of probation. A misdemeanor conviction can also have employment consequences, potentially, and you may need to report a conviction on certain types of applications for jobs or for school. So even though a misdemeanor is not as serious as a felony, if you have been charged with a misdemeanor, then it's something that you do want to treat seriously. There's also other terms of probation that might require you to complete a certain number of community service hours or attend certain court-mandated classes, such as alcohol classes or anger management classes. And if the crime's designated as a domestic violence offense, then it's common to see the court also order domestic violence classes. Also, if you rack up too many domestic violence offenses, even if they're misdemeanors, then eventually you can be charged with a felony domestic violence, even if otherwise it would be a misdemeanor. So having a DV designation or domestic violence designation can have serious consequences as well. Most Class 2 misdemeanor crimes, though, don't have any mandatory minimum sentence. So that's one of the good things about most Class 2 misdemeanors, because other crimes such as DUI, which is a Class 1 misdemeanor, the more serious type of misdemeanor, those can have mandatory minimum sentences which would require you to spend a certain amount of time in jail if you're convicted. But that's not the case in most Class 2 misdemeanor crimes. This means it'll ultimately be up to the judge to decide at sentencing, if you are convicted of a Class 2 misdemeanor, what the sentencing range could be. And that could be 0 days of jail or all the way up to the maximum punishment of 4 months, which is allowed by law. Depending on the type of crime and also the facts of the case and whether you have any prior criminal history, it may be an option in some cases where you've been charged with a Class 2 misdemeanor to negotiate what's called a diversion plea with the prosecutor. Most city courts in Arizona and also the justice courts, which are run by the county, allow the prosecutors in misdemeanor cases to grant defendants some sort of diversion program, and that's often a good deal because that means that if you're charged with the crime, your prosecution actually is going to be deferred while you take certain classes. And then if you successfully complete those classes, then the prosecutor will actually file a motion to dismiss on your case so that no criminal conviction will ultimately go on your record. It's essentially a 100% guarantee of a dismissal, where sometimes if you go to trial, there's always going to be that chance that you can ultimately get convicted even if you have a good case. So diversion can usually be a pretty good outcome. Now, Diversion may not always be available, though, even for people who are facing their first time criminal charge. And plea negotiations are always going to be specific to each person's individual case. But at least in the past, with my clients, we've had pretty good success in getting diversion offers for clients who don't have any prior criminal history. All misdemeanor crimes in Arizona also have what's called a statute of limitations. And this is a time limit that exists in which the state has to bring your charges, otherwise they're going to be barred from bringing them entirely. So generally, if a crime is committed and the state doesn't bring the charge within the statute of limitations, then the prosecutor can't bring those charges. And for a Class 2 misdemeanor, the statute of limitations is going to be 1 year. So that means that the state doesn't have to bring a misdemeanor charge immediately once they believe a crime's been committed. They can actually wait up to a year after the arrest before they bring those misdemeanor charges. But if they wait too long, then they can't bring the charges. There are some exceptions to this 1 year rule where the time limit can be extended, such as if the defendant isn't in the state of Arizona during the statute of limitations period, then the state, under the statute of limitations, will be allowed to extend that period of time. But in general, it's going to be a year. Now, just because you've been charged with a misdemeanor crime doesn't mean that a conviction is actually going to go on your record. Remember, the misdemeanor charge is just that. It's just a charge. It's not yet a conviction. And the state, if they take the case to trial, will have to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And there's a number of steps that can be taken to help make it so the state can't do that. If you hire a criminal defense attorney, then we're going to be able to conduct an investigation into your case, negotiate with the prosecutor, and fight to try to get your charges reduced or dismissed. So if somebody you know has been charged with a Class 2 misdemeanor, then give us a call. My firm offers free case evaluations, and we can sit down with you and analyze your case, have a case strategy session, and see how we can help you with your Class 2 misdemeanor charges. We look forward to speaking with you soon. Thanks for watching.